Welcome to The Buzz. I'm Eric Poole, editor-in-chief of Guns and Ammo Magazine, and we've got James Tarr. He's the handgunning editor for Guns and Ammo Magazine, and Mike Humphreys of Springfield Armory. Now, Mike, I'm really excited about this. Not only are we talking about one of the coolest guns that's on the market right now, the Springfield Armory Kuna, but I get a chance to actually have a great conversation with you because you're one of my best friends out there. We go back to, I believe, 2003, late 2004. We were both working at NRA Publications at that time, and you were, I believe, the managing editor for American Rifleman magazine. I was firearms inventory manager, and we just became great friends after that. And even though we went our separate ways briefly, we came back together. We worked at Harris Publications on a variety of magazines. And even though you're working for Springfield Armory now, I still see you a bit as a journalist. And in talking with you, you can take on my lens of how I review things and evaluate things and offer some really good perspective as a manufacturing representative now. But that's not to say you're not entirely a journalist today, because you also are the editor-in-chief of The Armory Life, which is a Springfield Armory's own magazine that's also a virtual magazine, and it's doing really well. Tell us a little bit about your career and how you got to where you're at.
Well, firstly, thank you for all the kind words, and I couldn't agree more. I consider you one of my closest friends, and gosh, we've known each other north of 2 decades now, which is making me feel really old. How about you?
Yes.
I remember being the young kid at all the events, but now I'm the old guy at the events. But that's what we all run into. But no, thank you for the lead in on that. And it's so, as you mentioned, you and I work together in NRA Publications. I sat on the other side of the table from where I'm at right now for 2 decades. Springfield hired me. I'm about to hit my 5 year anniversary. So for previous those, I've been doing this 25 years. Those 20 years, I was where you guys are. I was an editor. I was a writer. I was on the other side of the table. Always loved Springfield. One of my favorite companies. If there were any company I would pick to work for, it would be Springfield Armory. But there were a lot of advantages. I think I've had a wonderful opportunity. I am media relations manager for Springfield Armory, so that's why I'm talking to you guys about the Kuna and what we're talking about. But as you mentioned, I'm also editor of the Armory Life, which is it's the armorylife.com. It's our daily firearms lifestyle content website, and it's also our quarterly print magazine, which you and I work on. You lend a hand on that as well because we publish it with Guns and Ammo and OSG. So I'm very appreciative of that relationship that we have. But so I still get to be an editor. I still get to do things like an editor, but I'm also a representative of Springfield Armory. But I think it's beneficial because I've sat where you guys are. I know your job. I know the difficulties, the things you need to get your job done. So it's helpful to me as media relations manager to have done what you guys do. And I like to think that makes it a good relationship where I say, well, you need this material, happy to get it to you, so on and so forth. So that's kind of just the 10,000-foot view of where I started and where I am today.
Right. Now, I'm going to take you back a little bit to 2002, because at that time, Springfield had brought into the United States the XD series of pistols. So you were working at the NRA, I believe, when the American Rifleman covered it, and Guns and Ammo also covered it around that time. It was kind of a race to see who launched it first. But before we get into the Kuna, how have you seen the XD platform evolve through the years?
Oh, I mean, when the XD came out, I immediately recognized it. Being a staffer on American Rifleman with NRA, I was like, wow, what a great gun, great price, great features, great performance. And back in the early 2000s, polymer frame pistols are so common and ubiquitous now. It's like, oh, well, geez, everybody and
Right.
their uncle makes them. But back in those days, there were relatively limited options. So the XD was a breath of fresh air when that came out. Now, the XD has clearly been very successful. It's, as you noted, it's been around more than 20 years. It's been come out in numerous variations, iterations, chambering, so on and so forth. It is still in the line. There is the XD Mod 3, which we've taken the core elements of what makes the XD great, basically a striker fired 9mm pistol. We've upgraded it. It has some enhanced contours and shapes to the grip. It has a recontoured slide with new slide serrations, and most significantly, it has an optical mounting system on it. And the point that I like to make about it is it has all those things and it has an MSRP of $325. So you're getting a ton of gun with a long and proven track record. that you know is going to work for a great price. But we've also, and I say that the XD is still in line, but we've moved beyond it, the Echelon, Hellcat
Right.
Pro, and things like that. And I know that you guys are familiar with all of those.
Yes. Well, hey, Jim, you were working and you were shooting. You were a competitive shooter at that point. What was your experience with Springfield Armory, especially when the XD came into the scene?
People forget that the XD predates the Smith& Wesson M&P by a few
Yes.
years, and a lot of people like the reliability of the Glock, but they hated the Glock grip angle. And they really were drawn to the XD because basically it was a polymer frame striker fired gun that was reliable, that had a 1911 grip angle. And there were, like, Ron Avery was one of the big name shooters that really liked the gun. And unlike the Glock, where it was really tough to get a quality trigger pull that was reliable, that was under 3.5 pounds, at least on the competition side, with an XD, I know a lot of people were able to do really stellar, reliable trigger pulls that were well under 3 pounds. And so you saw a lot of them in competition, say about 20 years ago, back when production division was brand new. Rob Latham won the production division nationals shooting an XD back when they were pretty brand new. Of course, Rob can win anything with anything. You can
Right.
show up with, but it proved to a lot of people that the gun was durable enough to survive a national championship.
So I'm going to accelerate the timeline now to COVID. And that year in 2021, Mike, you were part of a small delegation that we went over to Croatia, flew into Zagreb, and then went to Karlovac. And Karlovac was the home of HS Produkt. And we were, I believe, the first people to go behind the scenes and witness how they make everything from the XD. And in the conference room, they quietly unveiled not only what we're about to talk about, the Kuna, but they unveiled the Hellion, which was an evolution of the legendary VHS bullpup carbine. And they also, were introducing early examples of the Echelon to us then. And then you told me I had to be quiet about it for a couple of years.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm impressed. You have sat on a lot of very important information, as you said, for years, particularly with the Kuna. That's the one you had to wait the longest
Yeah.
on, wasn't it?
And the one that put the biggest smile on my face.
It's funny. All of them have been remarkably successful, and as you noted, we were visiting HS Produkt. HS Produkt is Springfield Armory's manufacturing partner in Croatia. They are the ones that produce the XD, the Hellion, the Echelon, the Kuna, so on and so forth. They bring a great deal of manufacturing expertise and skill to their engineering and design that we also work with them. Like, it's interesting. The XD in a lot of ways was a design that they developed that we adapted somewhat slightly over the years. It became more
Mhm.
and more adapted, but it was their core design. The Echelon was something very different. The Echelon was Springfield Armory's vision of, because as you know, we talked about it. How many striker fired polymer frame guns are there out there these days?
Right.
That is a crowded market. So when we brought out the Echelon a few years back, you got a sneak peek at the early stages of it. We knew that we had to do something distinctive and different to make it stand out. So Springfield Armory engineers worked very closely with HS Produkt to develop that gun for the American market. And then for those reasons, it builds on the strengths. There's absolutely nothing wrong with an XD, but it takes everything that made the XD work, but takes it to the next level. It's basically a next generation in every way. And I mean, I remember conversations with you. Wouldn't you say that was kind of your impression
Yes.
of it as well?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have to discuss a little bit more about that trip because it revealed some other considerations. One is the Croatian homeland war, if you will, and their quest for independence. It is almost parallel in a lot of ways to the American independence. And mind you, that was 1991 to 1995. And I remember watching it evolve on television. I mean, they were taking war into their streets, and Karlovac was one of these centers. And when we visited HS Produkt and we would drive through the towns, there were some buildings that still had um, aircraft cannon fire into the side of their building, almost proudly displaying it to this
Hmm.
day. And then you would go to a building right adjacent to it, totally restored and no sign that it was ever in the heart of a war. But then we also visited the Karlovac Homeland War Museum, where they had like a MiG-21 fighter on display out there, and we met some of the war veterans, and they were all friends and counterparts to the people that worked at the factory HS Produkt. So the people working at HS Produkt had, in recent knowledge and experience, all of those uh, firearm developments that were necessary, because at 1991, when the war started, as we saw in the museum, they had to use whatever was available, whether that be AK-based platforms or Soviet era type uh, communist bloc platforms. And then they quickly had to develop their own when supplies became very limited. And that almost gave birth and rise to HS Produkt, the factory. And when we were in that conference room, they actually had some samples of early firearms, from a pistol to a submachine gun that kind of looks a little bit like an Uzi, but wasn't an Uzi whatsoever. Kind of like a Czech Scorpion, but not like a Scorpion either. It was its own thing. And that was a great segue to introducing the Kuna, because just like we saw the VHS carbine evolve into what is today the Hellion, and that early, I believe it was called like a V subgun, V1 subgun, it evolved into now what is complemented by like the Kuna. And I find this very relatively short amount of history being compressed into this country, and then Springfield Armory bringing these tribute pieces that were fully developed and tested by war, if you will.
Hmm.
And then, of course, in that trip, we went to the anti-terrorism, and we got to watch their special forces go out and demonstrate the effectiveness, the proven reliability, the accuracy potential of these. We went to then a military range and saw the military counterparts use the Hellion, doing little bound and assault drills on the range. By the time we got back to the United States, every one of these products that are now available to us, even though they're in semi-auto form, they're very well proven and established. They're going to work because all the homework's been done. All that testing for reliability has been done. Jim, what was your experience with reliability? You tested it for Guns and Ammo's June issue. It's on the cover of this. It's an exciting issue, called an article called Wild Weasel.
Um, well, I don't remember how many hundreds of rounds I put through it, because it was one of those guns where I didn't know anything about it. I just knew the name, because everything was super secret. Because yes, he did
Right.
keep his mouth shut about it. And so all I knew about it was the name. So I Googled Springfield Armory Kuna, and at the time, the only thing on the web at all was a news report in Spanish that I had to translate about the Sao Paulo, Brazil state police adopting it in
Right.
40 Smith & Wesson. And then when it showed up, I was like, okay, what is this? I don't quite know. And the more time I spent with it, the more I liked it. But the question always is it reliable? It doesn't matter how cool it is it reliable? So I took it to the range and I've put um, all sorts of different ammo through it, hundreds and hundreds of rounds. I don't know, a dozen different rounds, and it ran everything except the only thing it didn't like is I had some Supervel 90 grain stuff that
Mm,
has a huge cavity on the front, and that
right.
hung up on the mouth of the chamber. And that's not a gun problem, that's an ammo incompatibility problem. It fed everything else. And for a gun that was designed to be a subgun for military or law enforcement forces, designed mostly to run FMJ ammo, the fact that it ran a dozen different types of hollow points without a problem is a very good sign. And then also, as I mentioned in the article, I had an opportunity when I was testing at the range to shoot it alongside the new Springfield Armory Victor pistol, which is also a 9mm. It's got a 5.5-inch barrel, and that's an AR based gun. And so it's a straight blowback gun, whereas the Kuna, which was interesting, is a roller delayed blowback. And roller roller locks, as they call them, they aren't anything new, except you don't see a lot of new ones being introduced. And so I found that was interesting, and it's very simple. It's just a roller, a stainless steel roller that locks into the top of the barrel forward, above the chamber. But and there's a very strong spring on there, and just the force to unlock that roller is just enough so that they're able to lighten up the bolt carrier group of the Kuna, so that there's less reciprocating weight. Less reciprocating weight means less felt recoil. And shooting it next to the St. Victor, 9mm, which is about the same size, weighs 11 ounces more, but had more recoil because it was straight blowback. There was more weight slamming back into your shoulder. So the Kuna, very quick to cycle, very low recoil. There's a little bit of bounce when you're watching the dot, but it's straight up, straight down, and it's got a great trigger, so you can shoot fast. And the faster you shoot, the more that dot bounces, but it doesn't climb. So it's there's been a lot of interest. I've been seeing it everywhere. There's been a lot of interest about the Kuna, because Springfield Armory seems to have done Springfield and HS Produkt seems to have done everything right with this gun, from reliability to recoil absorbing properties to controls. The controls on it are great. Ergonomics are great. Looks are always important. Don't let anybody tell you that they're not. The Pontiac Aztec is a great, reliable vehicle, and everybody hates it because it's ugly as sin. So the Kuna, everything about it seems to be a home run. I don't know how many you guys are shipping yet, but I imagine you have probably back orders upon back orders.
So you pretty much keyed in on everything that makes the Kuna so interesting. We knew the Kuna was going to be successful. It has been a stunning success. We were almost immediately back ordered. We are working on supplies. We are getting them in, but in day one, the demand was so high on it. But it's interesting. I'm impressed, like you said, Eric did sit on that information for years about that gun, and you ran into it too. I didn't even have the media materials ready. You got the gun before I was able to get to the media materials. That's why you were Googling it. But it's funny. We could have called it some alphanumeric name designation and it would sound like all the other versions, but we named it the Kuna. And the Kuna is a very interesting, distinctive name. People go, why did you call it that? Well, as we've talked about, it is produced by our partners in Croatia, and the Kuna is basically a very important animal culturally to Croatia, where HS Produkt is located. It's their national animal. It's on their national currency. They had military units named after it, and it's basically a European pine marten, which doesn't sound that impressive, but it's effectively a wolverine. It is this tiny, aggressive little animal. So we thought that the Kuna, as you said, the roller delayed system makes the gun small and svelte. The way I describe it is it's a gun that defeats physics. It breaks the rules. It's smaller and lighter, yet has reduced perceived recoil because of the roller delayed system, which also allows the gun to be smaller and lighter. And I think you experienced that. Combine that with fully ambidextrous controls. And I think a really important point on it is, and one of the many reasons it's so successful, is its price point. We're offering it either as just a straight pistol with a Picatinny rail strip on the back, or on that Picatinny rail, that's an MSRP of $9.99 for that gun. For an MSRP of $11.49, we also sell it installed on that Picatinny rail with a Strike Industries FSA folding brace. That is a ton of gun for that price point. I think people are expecting it to cost hundreds of dollars more when they see it.
One of the interesting things about it is the only or the main complaint that I've heard about it is that it uses proprietary magazines. But a couple of things. One, additional magazines, I believe you guys are planning on pricing them at only $24.99 a piece, because they're polymer, which they're very, very nice magazines. These are solid magazines. But also, two, the reason why you guys went with proprietary magazines are because I guess in development it was originally a 9mm, but then Brazil, which is one of the few countries in the world that actually has an interest in the 40 Smith & Wesson. They wanted in 40 Smith & Wesson. So the magazine, basically the exterior dimensions of the magazine are big enough for a double column of 40s. And so because of that, you couldn't really use existing magazine pattern designs. I mean, that's right?
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's funny. The point I like to make is you're right. Some people mention proprietary as a negative. There is that perception. That is a reason that we priced them very aggressively. MSRP $25. We knew we could not come in and expect people to pay $80 a magazine for their own new dedicated magazine. But the point I like to make is all magazine designs are proprietary at some point. That's the first point I make. The second point I make is instead of building a gun around someone else's magazine, we wanted to build this gun from the ground up, designed to run, to function. Having a dedicated magazine that we could control its design, its manufacturing, ensure that it is the right magazine for that gun. Combine that with the price point, and I don't think it's a detriment. I actually view it as a positive.
Well, so you guys are bringing up a lot of good points. I got to backtrack here just a little bit on the roller delay system. A lot of people are going to say, well, it's just like an HK MP5, right? I mean, and that's one thing I remember even shooting in Croatia. I shot first that V1 submachine gun, and there's a little video. It's kind of embarrassing. I might put it out here just to share it with everybody. But as I'm pulling the trigger, I was set up. That thing had such a very fast action of the bolt. I can't believe it was issued to Croatian soldiers during the Homeland War. But I go hold the trigger, and they're like, don't be a coward. Hold that trigger back. Go through the magazine. And I did. And boy, that muzzle climbed very quickly. And I admittedly put a couple of rounds into the top railroad tie. That was the framework for the overhang of the range. And I've never done that before. Super fast. Similarly, but not as extreme, the HK MP5 also has a little bit more muzzle rise than what I experienced the Kuna. Kuna stays flat. I mean, and I believe a lot of that has to do with that bolt design and the roller lock. With the MP5, you've got a couple of rollers on the side and a roller plate. It's also a wear item on the HKs. As an armor, when I was in the Marine Corps, and we would come up with MP5s used by Marine Security Forces, there was a little plate that connected the two rollers, and those things would break, fracture all the time, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to repair and replace. You can't have that problem with the Kuna. This thing is really well thought out and almost future proof for the maintenance aspect. So any law enforcement agency out there looking for a reliable, better than MP5 performance, you got to take a look at the Kuna, because it's got so much potential there. I know in the US you're going to sell probably more initially commercially, but this thing has great potential to be more than what it is now. How about you, Jim? I mean, you've shot other roller designs before.
Well, I love the HK MP5, but when you compare the complexity, the MP5, which is a 60-year-old design now, or actually, I mean, because it's a size down G3, so it's almost 70 years old now. Complexity, the HK design is practically a Swiss watch compared to the simplicity of the Kuna. Because the HK has two rollers, and they go in and out and lock into the sides of the chamber.
Right.
And you've got that connecting plate, and you're right, that connecting plate, which is the wear point, and they've changed the design of that. In modern ones, it's not even a plate. It's like this weird spring thing, which is supposed to be more durable, but because they know that that's the problem. The Kuna is just a simple, basically single piece of stainless steel bar across that goes that's on the underside of the bolt carrier that locks into the top of the barrel, and it's spring loaded, just goes up and down. There's no in and out, there's no connecting plates or anything, just a spring loaded stainless steel bar that goes up and down. And I imagine that it is a wear point. The only question is how many thousands or maybe tens of thousands of rounds do you have to put through the gun before you actually see some wear on that part? And I imagine that with 9mm, it's going to have to be a lot more than in 40, because 40 is a lot more abusive. So, 9mm is much more popular in America than 40. So I imagine that people are going to run out of money to buy ammo before they wear out their Kunas.
Right. Well, believe it or not, I've actually got a source who's already got 20,000 rounds through one of these Kunas, and they haven't had an issue with that.
Do they work
roller.
for an ammunition company? Because, I mean,
Yes.
you know how much money in ammo that is.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
And Springfield and HS did do their own extensive testing as well. But Jim, I think you keyed in on a really important point, and Eric, you teed it up as well. Any delayed blowback system is inherently more complicated than a straight blowback. The beauty of a straight blowback system is its utter simplicity, but there's a crudeness too to straight blowback. So introducing a delayed blowback system of any type introduces complexity. I like to think that the Kuna, and it sounds like you guys agree, the Kuna has kept a delayed blowback system, the roller delayed system, has kept it as simple as you possibly can while still having the relative complexity of the delayed blowback because of all the benefits you get with the delayed blowback system.
I got to move you to another component of that, and one is shooting it suppressed. Jim, I don't know if you've had a chance to shoot this Kuna suppressed yet.
I have not. It's this has been one of those weeks where I've got 27 articles due, and so I've got it. I've got it right here. But you notice it's still got the factory muzzle brake on it. I have not. We've got the on the cover of Guns and Ammo. We've got the Silence Essential Banish 9K, and currently, I have that on one of my other roller delayed guns, but I want to put it on this one just to see, because that thing adds almost no length and almost no weight. And I imagine because the simplicity of the roller lock, that running a can on it doesn't do a whole lot of doesn't make a whole lot of difference in the recoil.
No, it's almost like, and two, for the difference in rate of fire and bullet weight, gas pressure, it's almost self-adjusting, as if there was some sort of self-adjusting gas regulator in it. Honestly, the bolt and the roller is doing something similar to that function when you're doing it. So when you add a can to it, like the Banish 9K, and that's what we evaluate. By the way, that is, in my opinion, right now on the market, the coolest looking can that you could put on a Kuna. It is so short and it weighs hardly anything. It's so lightweight that it doesn't change the characteristics of the handling of the Kuna. It fits the personality right. The only thing that a lot of people are going to find challenging is perhaps removing the muzzle brake / compensator. It's almost a dual function muzzle device. HS Produkt, they really put that on there very, very well.
That one's not going to come loose on its own, right?
It's not easy to come loose, but super effective. We also should talk about some of the other details here before we close this review up. But there's like Easter eggs throughout this gun. One being, how about the folding sights?
Oh, the sights are excellent, and I think HK did it with their MP7 sights originally, but the as it comes with the sights folded down on the receiver, you still have sights. You still have pistol style sights. You've got the white square on the front, and then you have a Hellcat style white U in the rear that you can run very quick and effectively. And then if you decide to not use an optic and decide that you wanted to use just iron sights, you've got the flip up fully adjustable sights with an adjustable post in the front and an aperture in the back. And that's one of those things it's a tiny little thing, but so many companies don't do that, but it's so much added value. And I think I'm one of those people, I'm old school. If you're going to have an optic on a firearm that you intend for serious social use, self-defense, law enforcement, military, or whatever, you need to have some sort of backup sighting system on there that's not dependent upon batteries. And so if it's something like a Kuna or a rifle or whatever, having backup iron sights on it is something that you want, and they come on the gun from the factory, and they're
Right.
great.
Yeah, it's funny. It's that Easter egg is a great way to describe it. They're integrated right into that top strip of picketing rail. If you didn't know they were there, you just looked at the fold down sights. Oh, great, these are great. And when you flip up those fully adjustable for windage and elevation rifle style sights, it's like, wow, it's just another cool little feature on the gun that, again, at its price point, you get so much for what we're offering with it.
Well,
Absolutely.
and even you guys could have gone with a number of different brace options on the market, and the market is full of a lot of great aftermarket manufacturers. And I just became aware of Strike Industries, I think about a year ago, and they make a lot of really good stuff, but a lot of people aren't aware of it. And their brace on this, they make a dual folder where it folds to either side. This is the single folder, and it is rock solid. It's got steel lockup with the gun. The bar on it, the arm bar on it, is milled aluminum, and then the little tab at the back that wedges against your arm if you want to use it as an actual arm brace. That solid polymer. The darn thing locks open, locks closed. It doesn't wiggle at all. If you're going to decide to keep it as a pistol and not SBR it, you can't do better than this brace. And again, for the price point, that's fabulous. That's great. You guys, you deserve to sell as many of them as you possibly can, because it's a great product at a great price. And I haven't even told you, Mike, you're not getting this one back. So at some point, when
Right.
you say, "Hey, where the heck is this gun?" I'm going to have to write you a check. So.
All right, Jim, let's not spread it on too thick and make everybody think this is an advertisement for Springfield Armory.
Well, no, okay, no, all right.
Journalistic integrity here.
No, in my defense, everyone on this little podcast here has been a gun, is or has been a gun writer, and Mike, we do not part with our money unless we really, really like something. So the fact that I'm willing to spend my own money on something that I've gotten to shoot for free, and I could send it back, and it wouldn't cost me anything. I want to keep it. So that's, if you know how cheap gun writers are, that's a badge of honor. I'm just saying.
I'd say it's past the ultimate test. A seasoned gun writer spending cash out of his pocket for it. You're right. That is, because I could be cheap too when I was in your seat. Yeah, and I would be buying one of these, which I am. But I would be buying it if I were in the exact same situation you are. I don't think we're going to get many of them back.
All right, I've got a couple more Easter eggs we had to talk about. One is that charging handle. Now, an issue that people always bring up when there's a new SMG or carbine that's got some sort of forward charging handle is, does it reciprocate? This one, it doesn't. Bonus, it's also folding, and it folds forward. Another bonus, it can be reversed to the other side. As we're looking at you, Mike, one thing I know about you is you're left-handed.
I'd love to take credit for that. I'd love to say that I was able to insist that thing be designed the way it was just for me personally, but you've dealt with the Hellion, you've dealt with HS Products, other ones we've developed. The Hellion is also an ambidextrous design, which is particularly unique in a bullpup rifle. HS, in working with us, developed this thing to be as user-friendly as possible. The gun is a blast to shoot. It is tons of fun, and it is just as easy for a left-hander with its fully ambi and reversible controls to run as a right-hander, which I, as a southpaw, really appreciate.
Yep. And, if you go back to the 90s when HS Produkt was in its infancy and they were developing firearms as quickly as they could for the battlefield, these considerations for bilateral controls, that wasn't even really a conversation. You didn't have thoughts to an ambidextrous magazine release or a bolt catch or a bolt release, what have you. It's all here. The Kuna represents where we are at with firearms technology and development. This gun has it all. It's also got a great grip to it. You've got transparent magazines. You can instantly check to see the capacity of where you're at. And that's important. When the rounds start disappearing in the Kuna, it means that you're at 5 or less. that's when I stopped seeing, the rounds underneath the mag well. When it's loaded 6 rounds or more, you can see them below. So it's great time. It's a great reminder to change magazines if you ever find yourself in an intense situation where you want to stay in the fight. But
the pistol grip is great. It's got really aggressive texturing, a little bit more of a vertical grip angle. But if for some reason you don't like it, correct me if I'm wrong, it's an AR pattern grip, right? So if you got a Magpul or a Bravo company or whatever that you want to, that's your favorite and you want to swap it out with, it's just a matter of a screw and swapping it out. So it'll take about a minute of your time, which I think was very smart. I mean, you talk about a rich market full of parts out there. The AR aftermarket part business is booming.
We wanted to make sure this gun is keyed to the American market in a lot of ways. It has M-LOK slots up front. It also has, as you mentioned, the AR pattern pistol grip, and we did put the adaptive grip texture on it that you will find, and we also put it up on the front of the magwell. But we put adaptive grip texture like you find on the Hellcat Pro, Echelon. What we found is we love it. People are happy that they have the ability to put any AR pistol grip on it. Almost everybody's saying they're keeping the original grip on it because they like the adaptive grip texture so much.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, last thing I want to talk a little bit about. People are going to wonder, well, how accurate is it? Jim, I've got your range report right in front of me, and let me read you some statistics. One, velocity range for a heavy 158 grain bullet, you're going to get about 800 to 900 feet per second, closer to 900 feet per second. With 124s, you're in that 1280 feet per second range, and with 115s, you're at 1200 to 1370 feet per second. So really good numbers there out of this barrel, which is cold hammer forged. I mean, they make their own barrels too. That's another nice little point. It's very consistent. You've got a best group. I've had to put you on the spot about this. Caught me off guard. You've got a Fiocchi load, 158 grain full metal jacket that got 0.9 inch 5-shot group, and then you shot a Black Hills 124 grain jacketed hollow point at 1 inch exactly, and then everything else was really in that 1.5 inch group in terms of accuracy. What distance were you shooting those at?
I don't even remember, Eric. I'm sure it's on there. Was that 25 or 50 yards?
That was 25 yards.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of things. One, it's a 6-inch barrel, so you're going to get anywhere from 0 to, depending on the load, close to 100 feet per second more than you would out of a standard handgun length barrel. Right. Usually, the lighter the load, the more increase in velocity you'll see, and then it's the barrel isn't heavy, which helps keep the weight down on the gun, but it free floats inside that handguard. And so you have a rigid, extruded or aluminum receiver, and that barrel is locked tight into there, and you're throwing an optic on it. So you are able, and it's got also, you've got a great trigger pull on this gun. Normally, guns that are designed for military, law enforcement, or whatever, they have trigger pulls that are heavy enough to prevent negligent discharges into raw recruits. The trigger pull on this, it's a little long. There's a little bit of a take up, but it's smooth and it's light. It was only 5 pounds on a couple of the different guns that I've tested. And because there's another gun writer here locally who's got one, and then it's got a really short, it's got a nice crisp break, and then it's got a really short reset, so you can run this gun fast and shoot it accurately. You can shoot up to the accuracy potential of that free floated 6-inch barrel, which is very nice. So yeah. It's not just me. A lot of people are going to be surprised, yeah, it's a pistol, but it's a pistol with a brace where you can mount an optic, and it's got a free floated barrel. So you're going to be able to run that thing almost like a full size PCC. If you've got steel at your range at 50 or 100 yards, you're going to be able to ring it pretty much every time you pull the trigger, which is a great thing about these kind of guns.
Well, let me speak to that 50 yards, because that was my accuracy standard. And I came up, Mike, to visit you at the range. You have your own private range near Geneseo, Illinois, where Springfield Armory does some outdoor testing. You guys let me shoot it. We had an Aimpoint ACRO on it, as well as a 3x magnifier behind it. And that's what I like about the Kuna too, is you've got a longer rail than you typically would on a handgun. I mean, a red dot makes a great difference when shooting a handgun, but if you're able to put a magnifier behind it, now we're talking about some serious accuracy potential. Now, my report from that range, my best group at 50 yards is 1.3 inches, which is only about a half inch better or I mean, worse than what your 25-yard group was, Jim. And then, on average, I was at 2.2 inches across 3 different loads. So really,
well, that sounds like you were shooting as good or better than I was at 25 yards. So it's
yeah. It's hard to tell with 25 versus 50 yards, but yes,
yeah.
this thing's a ringer.
Both you guys are shooters, but on top of that, that gun has a great deal of mechanical accuracy, which you guys found. Those things can shoot. You guys know how to shoot, and in that case, you've got a gun that can shoot really well.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thank you again for joining us. Be sure to check out Guns and Ammo's June issue. This is the June 2025 issue featuring the Kuna. It's got Aimpoint on it, as well as that Banish 9K suppressor. It looks really good on the cover of Guns and Ammo magazine. Be sure to read Jim's article on it. Thanks again, Mike, for joining us, bringing together a little bit of gun writer reunion. And let's do it again.
Sounds good. And thanks for having me. Really appreciate the coverage, guys.